Hi, everyone. On behalf of the Francis Clark Center, I want to welcome you and thank you for joining this very special series. This is a stressful and uncertain time for all of us, and it's more important than ever that we band together as professional music teachers. I'm Shana Kirk, and I am the Director of Digital Operations here at the Francis Clark Center. We have an enormous outpouring of interest in the things that we are offering this week, and we hope to serve you even more in the coming days. So why are we all here? We know that it's important to provide continuity and support in children's lives, and that continuity can help alleviate anxiety in the time of a crisis. We know that music is critical for human existence, and it always has been. The families have already engaged your services and have already invested money and, importantly, time, which for many, many families is so limited. They have chosen you to be the adult that may well spend more time one-on-one with their child than any other person in their lives. You have chosen the services, they have chosen the services you offer, and you provide an irreplaceable part of their child's education and development. So have confidence that you are needed now. And if you feel nervous about continuing lessons in this time, you're not alone, but remember that you're a musician. You're uniquely prepared to adapt, and you're uniquely prepared to help your families adapt. So let's get started. The Francis Clark Center is ready to help. Allison, can I have my slides up? There we go, awesome. So, and while we're getting this a little bit set up and I find where my mouse pointer goes, I want to just quickly thank the entire staff of the Francis Clark Center. We have a small army of administrative staff members who are also piano teachers at the new school. We have our very capable and energetic and forward-thinking director, Jennifer Snow, and a huge, huge leadership team of really, really brilliant people. We're going to be hearing a lot from the rest of them. Today's topic is our rapid response. So if you're a studio teacher and you need resources to move your teaching online now and you're just not quite sure what to do, today's topic is for you. There will be more specialized topics coming forward, but today is for teachers who just need a little extra help getting started. We'll be going over how we can help. We'll be talking about choosing a platform. We'll be talking about preparing your space, all the very basic details of online teaching that are best practices and ways to engage your students. We'll talk about sound quality. We know that's an important subject. We'll talk about teaching theory online, digital scores, and very importantly, communicating with families. And we'll hope to have some time at the end for questions and answers. I believe we have Allison monitoring the chat, and we'll look forward to hearing from you. We have already sort of gone over this slide. We know that we want to continue music study, but because it's very, very important. And just to demonstrate how important music is in our lives, I am going to ask Allison to play a quick video of how music is affecting lives of people in Italy right now. I've been seeing those videos all over the internet lately, and it's just so encouraging to see that people have this place they can turn. And it's so important that we continue what we're doing so that our students have that same opportunity. Here at the Francis Clark Center, we've been preparing for this moment unknowingly for decades. There are towering figures. Allison, can you move me over so I'm not hiding actual Francis Clark? Thank you. Towering figures, Marvin Blickenstaff, Louise Goss, and of course, Francis Clark herself. The center has, for many years, convened longstanding committees of specialists to look to the future in every corner of our profession. Some of these committees are especially relevant right now. I have been on the technology committee for a long time. We have a wellness committee and a collegiate teaching committee that will go into really rapid action right now, and the rest of our committees are also providing incredible support. So we have engaged those resources to build our COVID-19 response page at claviercompanion.com/COVID-19. I'm just going to screen share quickly now so that you're able to see that what it looks like. And let's see if I'm getting, oh, there. So you'll see that we have a message from the director of the center, Jennifer Snow, right at the top. We have our upcoming webinars listed. And scrolling down even further, we have already sorted out some content from our archives that should be helpful right now on topics like wellness and online teaching. And now could I go back to my PowerPoint? Thank you. This is so great. We have made a lot of these articles open to the public for right now, and we'll be continuing to sort out how to provide the best services to teachers in the community going forward. We, of course, hope that you are all subscribers to the Piano Magazine, formerly known as Clavier Companion. But if you are not yet, we're going to have some opportunities to do that easily going forward. I also want to point your attention to our existing teacher enrichment content. You may be facing an extended period of time at home, so it's a good time to explore the teacher's education courses and micro courses. We'll be putting together a course on distance learning as well. And then one more thing that we'll be putting together, and in fact already have put together, is a new program called Mentor Connections. Was covered in the video. That's an opportunity to actually engage a one-on-one mentor through the Francis Clark Center for any part of your teaching that you would like help with. So let's get started on some distance learning. I am so honored to be in this position and share some of the best practices that I have been putting together over the last, honestly, 20, 25 years, working at the convergence of technology and pedagogy. A lot of people who have been special Technology Saturday attendees at the National Conference on Keyboard Pedagogy may know me as the crazy, progressive, cutting-edge technology guru who puts all kinds of MIDI and gadgets together, and I do actually love to do that. But today, that's not what we're going to talk about. Today, we're just going to focus on basic technologies, skills, and practices that we need to keep your teaching viable right now. So the first thing we should talk about is how will you choose a platform? A lot of teachers are already equipped with smartphones. So what we're going to talk about today specifically are easy platforms that suit basic needs. There are really wonderful advanced opportunities through other platforms and ways to add on to what you have. But if you already use FaceTime or Google Duo / Hangouts, which is a similar service for Android phones, all you need is a student's contact information to make a video phone call. Skype and Zoom require an additional account and setting up additional software. Skype does come pre-installed on Windows. So those are definitely optional as well. But let's focus on things that you already know. I can't emphasize enough that the most important part of online teaching is the teaching. Whatever platform you use, don't be overwhelmed by it. If you have the skills to use a multifaceted broadcast platform, go ahead. But the most important thing right now is what is going to get you and your students online fastest. Once you have chosen a platform, you want to talk about how does your space look. You probably put some thought into preparing your studio as a teacher already. You want your students to come in through an entryway that's probably uncluttered. You want them to have easy access to your studio without having to trip over all of the other things in your house. And your online space is just the same. You want to make sure that anything that's in the shot of your video, like I'm doing this from my piano today, even though I'm not really teaching a piano lesson, just to show that it's really important to have a broad view of your instrument. I could even make it a little more broad by changing the height of my camera. But this seemed to be a good angle for today. In general, I usually choose and ask the student to choose a camera angle that's, if you're facing the piano, a little behind and to the right, because that gives you the most opportunity to see the student's body in action and the keys of the piano. And even you could even raise the camera a little bit for pedals. You want to make sure that just like when you're studio teaching, you keep out extra noise and distractions. You ask your kids to stay quiet. It's going to be harder and harder to do that. And you bring your energy and enthusiasm to the lesson, just the same as you would in a one-on-one lesson, but actually even more than you would in a one-on-one lesson. Remember, you don't know what's going on around your students when they are on the other end of the camera. So you have to be extra engaging so that when something walks by in the room, they're focused on you instead of whatever the other distractions might be in the house. Those are just all parts of good teaching that you already do every day. When you are in the middle of a lesson, you still want to do the same things that you do as good teachers. You model good playing. You model good technique. You allow time for dialogue and exchange. You give your students an opportunity to apply concepts. You break down their problems into small little bits. You plan your time. You ask effective questions. So I thought we would do just a tiny little demonstration of this. I have Trevor waiting on his piano in New Jersey, and he is a teacher at the new school as well. And I thought it might be helpful just to show a little example of what this might look like in action. Can we have Trevor? There we go. Everybody say hi to Trevor.
Hello.
And would it be possible for us to be like the same size in the window? I don't know if it is. Yeah, maybe not. It's okay. This will be fine. So I think just to kind of give everyone the teacher experience, let's pin Trevor as the speaker, if we can. I think it's auto-selecting now based on who's talking. Maybe so. Allison, can we get Trevor bigger? Okay, well, oh, there we go, good. Okay, super good. Okay, Trevor, is your mic on?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So just, quick practices of how we would conduct a lesson. Trevor, thank you so much for having your music ready to go. That's something you can put in your teaching policy. And for being at the piano on time, I really appreciate that. So Trevor's going to pretend to be my student in case I'm not talking to him as a colleague right now. So Trevor, what are you ready to play?
I'm ready to play the woodpecker song.
Oh, that's really great. Let's hear it.
Okay.
Wow, that's great. You've done such hard work learning all of the notes. I'm so pleased that you played in time. You must have really practiced with the metronome.
I did.
So proud of you, Trevor. Somebody want to be taking notes on my pedagogy here. I just gave positive reinforcement. Very important. Now, Trevor, have you ever seen a woodpecker?
Yes, I have.
And it's about the time of year when we start to see them outside. Can you make a motion with your hand? How woodpeckers are against a tree? Oh, that's good. That's great. How about against the fallboard of the piano? Can you even make a bigger motion? What if this is a really hungry woodpecker? Hey, that's really a nice motion that you're making with your wrist. Could you turn it to the up and down? Oh, there you go. And now make that same motion when you see the staccato. That's really better. How about even bigger? How about a huge woodpecker? Pretend this is the Godzilla of woodpeckers attacking your piano. It's hungry. It's spring. Hey, that's so much better. Okay, now dial it back just the tiniest bit. Hey, I like that a lot. Can you start at the beginning and use that same motion with your whole woodpecker arm? Fantastic, Trevor. Let's try just one more adjustment because you know what? I think this woodpecker is singing a love song to another woodpecker.
Oh.
So we've got to get attention with the pecking, but then we've got to show love with a melody. So when you're doing that two-handed melody, could I hear a little growing in the melody?
Sure. Let's see.
Oh, beautiful. I would absolutely fall in love with that woodpecker if I was another woodpecker. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Trevor.
Thank you.
Okay, fast forward. We're at the end of the lesson. Trevor, thank you again for playing for me today. Make sure you remind your parents to confirm your next lesson time. And we'll see you next week.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Thank you, Trevor.
Bye.
So you can see, even from just our cell phone connection, that we can still do a lot. We can still talk a lot about articulations. We can talk a lot about melody. It's not optimal sound. It's not as great as being there, but I'm able to see right now that Trevor has a nice piano. It's reasonably in tune. My piano is a nice piano. It's reasonably in tune, reasonably. And so there's a lot to be done. And we had a very personal connection over the screen. Can I get my slides back now? There we go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so what if there are problems? We didn't model this. We should have modeled maybe. What if you have a problem? What if your internet has a problem? What if the student can't figure out how to use their camera? What if it's got fingerprints? Oh, everybody's washing their hands so much, nobody has fingerprints. Have a backup plan. You can use just a phone call. It's definitely better than nothing. You can ask your student to take videos on their phone, and you can trade them back and forth. That's especially useful for older students who are used to using their phones for making videos all the time. You can share videos over asynchronously, just not back and forth in the same day, by making assignments and asking for video submissions. You already have your lesson planned. You already have materials. You already have activities. So shifting those things to an asynchronous format is probably not a big deal if circumstances demand. I might ask Trevor to come back on. I hope he didn't just leave. Based on conversations we've been, there's Trevor, having around social media, a lot of teachers are really concerned with sound quality. So we've already agreed that right now what we're doing is just using the most basic technology that's available to us. It is cell phone to cell phone. And or we're demonstrating the kind of same practice as cell phone to cell phone. If you want to improve sound, there are just a few little kind of hacks you can put in place. Just remember that what is it that makes internet sound bad or unpleasant sometimes? It's something called compression in audio. So I'm not going to give an audio lesson today, even though I've just been learning so much about it and it's really exciting. But when a microphone feeds into a digital stream, every platform out there, whether it's FaceTime, whether it's Skype, whether it's even Webinar Jam, which is what we're using right now, that's very sophisticated, all of those platforms condense the sound and clip off the top and bottom frequencies because it takes less bandwidth to send into the web. That's not optimal for music. The compression lets the frequencies stay right around what is needed for human speech, and the wider frequencies of music are often clipped off. That's why sometimes you hear the middle of the piano sound kind of better than the top or the bottom of the piano. So I've asked Trevor to do just one little hack, which is kind of a fun thing. He's right now using just the headphones that go with his phone, that have a microphone and a headphone built in. I have never been to Trevor's house, but it looks like he's got a pretty big piano in a pretty small room with bare walls. And I do not see any tapestries on the wall, and I don't know if there's carpet. Is there carpet?
No.
There's not carpet. It's a hard floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because he's wearing that head-worn microphone, we didn't get terrible echoes from the room, but we did get a little bit of like tinny overtone. So Trevor, I'm going to ask you to put on a hoodie. Oh, before you do,
yeah,
would you play? You can play the woodpecker again, or you can play something else too. It doesn't. Trevor's playing other things that are not the woodpecker. Oh, great. Yeah, actually, that's a good example because that was a little broader range of frequencies. So we heard a little bit of that distortion happening in the high end of the piano. So now Trevor's going to put on a hoodie.
Technical difficulties. Okay.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Now, just from talking, you can hear that his sound just got a little bit warmer because now all of a sudden his mouth has a little bit of soft surfaces to bounce from. Okay. So talk just a little bit more.
Okay. Is this sounding better?
Yeah, well, it sounds different for sure.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so when you're talking, I don't know that better or worse is really the right thing, but what's happening is you're hearing more isolated sound from Trevor, and you're not hearing bouncing off the walls. Okay, so now play that same scale.
Okay.
And actually, that's a bigger difference than I was expecting. Now take your hoodie off and A/B compare.
Okay.
Well, you could just take the hood
Oh,
part.
the head off.
All right, you're all those little echoes. So it makes a difference. A tiny, tiny little thing like that makes a difference. If your student is not wearing headphones, you can ask them to put something soft under under their phone or whatever device they're using. That makes a huge difference too. I have on my phone, I have a little case that has a magnetic thing, and it forms a stand. Of course, like lots and lots of kids have pop sockets on their phones. We should make Francis Clark pop sockets. Somebody take that note down. I think we should. And so that helps stand up your phone, and so you don't have to, prop it on something. You can also use all kinds of creative things. You could ask parents to, break out the duct tape and tape the phone to something that's higher up if you can't see them well enough. A sturdy music stand makes a great solution for holding a laptop. Make sure it's a sturdy music stand, though, not one of those foldy things that you take to marching band. Okay, let's get back to focus here. Hard for me. Sound quality. Important things to note inside whatever platform you're using. And I don't know if I should have made this bigger in this slide, but if you have auto adjust settings, I don't think FaceTime has on a phone an auto adjust setting, but Skype definitely does and Zoom definitely does. You can turn off those automatic adjustment settings for the microphone. Those settings are there to make sure that external noises are getting filtered out. And very often the high frequencies and low frequencies of music will be lumped into that. And like, I don't have any idea if you can hear the garbage truck passing my house right now, but that would be one of the things that an auto setting would try and clip out. If you're talking about music, you don't want those things clipped out. You want to isolate this. You want to keep the sound in your space as clean as possible, and then let it all go through the microphone. And finally, a last tip is if you have the ability to adjust your volume, adjust it, lower it on the microphone end, and then raise it on the speaker end so that you're not over allowing the amount of clattery sound, for lack of a better word, that comes into your microphone. Now, once you have been teaching online or in person, even if you are still teaching in person somewhat, we know that we're probably not going to be doing public recitals anytime soon. And we've seen some really wonderful offerings from the Metropolitan Opera, from all kinds of artists to broadcast their performances over the internet. And that's been very, very exciting. But what can you do for your students? Of course, you could have a YouTube recital. You could just replicate the recital experience, except online. And that is definitely something you can do. But why not take this opportunity to extend learning with some creativity, with some combined arts? We're going to be compiling a lot more of these ideas online, and we will have a resource document that's honestly such a dynamic document at this moment. We'll be able to share it by the end of today, but oh my gosh, it's a big list. Combine art and music. Ask your students, ask your young students maybe to create a comic strip. Use their music to create a, draw 4 panes of imagery. That's not something that little kids would not be able to do. All they need is paper and crayons. Your middle school students, I've been so inspired by Penny Lazarus, who's given a lot of presentations on this subject, having her students, especially in that intermediate range, make soundtracks to silent films. And the Library of Congress is a great resource. There's tons of videos online already. And I pre-made a search that is short films that are silent, and you can access that link on our resource document. And so assign a little short film, and there's just really some fantastic stuff in there. I noticed there is an original production of Alice in Wonderland. I mean, things that are just timeless. And then some really weird and, what must have been early ways of just testing out the camera, like horses crossing a river or train crashes. Anyway, the sky's the limit. For our high school students who are looking at needing to do research projects anyway to complete their diploma, why not ask them to include research on a composer? Why not ask them to include research on a specific era of music or music as social justice? There's so many topics that can be valuable to our high school students in helping them learn music in a more deep way, but also to fulfill some of their academic requirements. Oh, I had that slide twice. We have lots and lots of resources these days to teach theory online. We have SproutBeat, which I love because it's very simple. It's basically just worksheets. And we have tools like Classroom Maestro, which let you demonstrate concepts right from your screen and screen share. And then, of course, tons and tons of content on YouTube. I definitely recommend the Scale Tutoring from Musical Minds Online. That's the school that's operated by Kristen Yost in Texas. Those scale videos are so cleanly made and only one at a time. So your student can just have one little short video to help out. And that's what those are at the bottom of my screen. We have lots and lots of opportunities for digital scores. And I think that we'll have a subsequent webinar that will include that considerably more, but lots and lots of great resources that we will link. Finally, when you are communicating with students and families, I want to reinforce again that you should choose a method for your communication, whatever you're comfortable with, whether that is Google Docs, Google Forms, or if you just prefer email, ask for email. Don't be afraid to ask for what you need. Share with Dropbox, share with texts, however is easiest for you. Your families are probably all used to using all of those services already. I do really love that Google Docs gives you an easy way to create and resolve comments. So you could just keep a running list of lesson plans and assignments, questions, answers, all on the same Google Doc that is shared with another student and adjusted in real time. I think at this point, we might open to some questions and answers. And I see that I'm getting specific tech questions already. So I think maybe, Allison, could you open your mic and just maybe choose a few questions that might be helpful for the group?
Hi, Shana. This is Allison.
Hi, Allison. Thank you so much for all of your help today.
My pleasure. So we have quite a few questions about how to set up microphones and camera angles for both the teacher and the student.
Okay. So I have not been intentionally not been talking about external cameras or microphones today. I think that's maybe just one step more complicated than we wanted to get into. But certainly that's an option. Microphone setup Was there a specific question about microphone setup? Most of the time, the microphone is built into the device. If you have an external microphone, of course, you can put that, in a more optimal part of the room. It's unfortunate that you can't. The placement of the camera is not the optimal placement of the microphone in most cases.
Then could you speak a little bit more to the placement of the camera itself?
Yeah, for sure. I have a strong preference when teaching online for setting the camera at, okay, here's the keyboard. So measure from the student's or your right shoulder and then like an arm's length up. So that gives, I have like all of this stuff here for my notes. I could move it out of the way now that I don't need my notes. Hopefully don't knock anything over. Ooh, autofocus camera. Let's come back to life here. So now you can see my more normal shot. I'm not very tall, so I don't have the camera way up high, but I have a place here. Oh, and I wore my pushing slippers just for your entertainment today. So you can even see the pedals as I play. And you can see the complete scope of the keyboard from behind my shoulder. I'm mostly not sitting that way because I'm talking to you.
Thank you, Shana.
Yeah, sure. Other questions?
A lot of questions about what platforms to use and then how the camera and the mics affect that platform. So if you could speak a little bit more about Zoom or FaceTime or Skype, that would be
great. Sure. So I'm on a Mac right now, so I can actually screen share with probably any of those things. Let me try turning on FaceTime and screen sharing just so we can see the options. Although I won't be able to actually choose my camera, I think, while I'm using my camera for something else.
There are also questions about what camera you're currently using. Is that just on your device or is that external? My
particular camera right now is, I almost picked it up, but then that would, you wouldn't be able to see me anymore. And you can't see it. Wait, I'll switch cameras. Now I don't think I can do it from within a conference, right?
I don't think you can. Leave it
it's the Logitech C920, and I can show you a picture. C920, I think, is the right one. And screen share. Logitech C920. See if I can make the window bigger here. Okay, now you can kind of see Logitech C920 HD Pro. In all of the distance learning, demonstrating, and long distance master classes and all kinds of things that I've done, this camera has been the one that has been the warhorse. It is not extremely sophisticated in that you can't pan and zoom from, it doesn't have its own, app to do very, very sophisticated things, but it is one of the wider angle accessory cameras. So it's easy to get a fairly tight yet fairly comprehensive shot. Earlier today, I was just using my built-in camera on the computer. So you already saw the difference in that, but it was not significantly different, I don't think, the camera that's built into the iMac that I'm working from right now. So yeah, there are definitely some variations. There are also variations from one platform to the other in terms of how tightly the camera zooms. You can be using the same camera and switch from Skype to FaceTime and get a tighter or wider shot. So that's just something that you'll probably just want to take notes and keep in in a record so that you can, kind of give students the equivalent of theater X's on the stage markings to say, okay, this is the spot where your camera needs to be. This is the spot where your phone needs to go. But in a lot of cases, the most useful thing that I found is that behind the right shoulder shot is the most useful overall.
How do you have your camera mounted right now? Is it on a tripod?
No, it's got like a little grippy kind of thing built into the camera, so it's just sitting on top of the computer.
So if your students don't have a grippy thing or a tripod, how do you suggest they get this optimal angle?
So lots of easy hacks, I think. In a student house, maybe there would be a music stand. A music stand is a really, really good option for that too. If not, duct tape to the wall. I have a lamp post right here that has served as a mounting surface for a lot of various devices over the time. Yeah, I think there have to be sometimes a creative solution to, fix something. Velcro straps. I'm a big fan of Velcro straps in general. Stella, though, who we work with a lot, she really goes by duct tape.
All right, buy some duct tape if it's not all sold out. Do you have a suggestion for a platform that you prefer? And do you also have a suggestion for what devices your students should use in their home setup?
In an optimal situation, I would probably request Zoom. Zoom requires one extra step, which is, downloading software, and there's a little bit of opportunity for confusion if you're not already used to using Zoom, because it is not, you don't have like a phone number the way that you do with FaceTime or even Skype, where you're just making a one-to-one connection. Zoom is a business tool. So basically you're setting a virtual space with a virtual ID, and you're inviting people to that space. And so it takes a few clicks for people to join it. But I do very much like the ability to screen share and use kind of a whiteboard. That has more opportunity to be, sort of a comprehensive teacher. So you have your demonstrating surface separate from your viewing the student surface, all in a row. So in a pinch, I think FaceTime is great, and the equivalent on Android devices is great. You can share a screen, but it is not as neatly laid out in kind of presentation way. It's kind of either or. But yeah, I would probably like Zoom the best.
It sounds like from the chat that most people are hoping to use their phones, iPhones or Androids. And in my personal experience, I've had most of my students just be connecting over their phone. Do you have any particular suggestions for how to set that up opposed to using a computer?
For you or for the students? Like, the students are more likely to be using a mobile device than the teacher, probably.
Right. I think from the teacher standpoint, how can we set ourselves up best if all we have to use is a phone? Yeah,
so I think again, like this angle here, if you turn your phone to the sideways, your FaceTime doesn't have to always be that narrow angle, right? You can turn it the other way. So that's obviously useful because we essentially play a horizontal instrument, not a vertical instrument. So first of all, ask your devices to be turned the other way. And depending on the settings in your device, you might have to do that before you start a call. And then you engage the call. I would probably, if you're talking about just phone to phone, I would just resort to old-fashioned, have a whiteboard that you can see, or even a whiteboard where you can take a picture and immediately text it to your student. So that things are fast. You're not worried about futzing around in a folder system of documents. Take notes and then send your student resources after the lesson.
Is there an advantage to using an iPad opposed to an iPhone?
Only if your eyes aren't very good. Yeah, I think yes.
Screen.
I mean, you can't, more screen real estate is desirable, yes. And if you're talking about being able to share scores, if you're using digital scores and then you share the screen, there's some score apps that are not available on phone. So they're only available on iPad. I think musicnotes.com app is probably one of them. SuperScore is definitely one of them. And it would just be so super hard to read on a tiny device.
Right. So if you are using a computer for your connection, do you suggest using an Ethernet connection versus Wi-Fi?
Oh, that's a very good question. If you have the opportunity to wire your connection, that's obviously going to be a lot more reliable. You don't really know what, well, you may not know what the shared Wi-Fi is, especially if you are in, say, an apartment building or a space where you're given Wi-Fi as part of your rent and you don't have control over the administrative settings. So yeah, an Ethernet connection is always going to be more stable. Nowadays, most people's Wi-Fi is also quite stable and fast. So I don't know that makes a huge difference at this level. But yes, wired connections are more stable.
Great. So we have some questions about if you need to teach multiple students at once, how you go about doing that in terms of platform.
Yeah, so you would definitely want to go toward one of the more professional platforms, Skype or Zoom, one of the more sort of meeting prepared platforms. If you are going to want interaction from the whole group, if you are going to want to sort of broadcast in one direction, you could also do something like a YouTube Live or even FaceTime Live, and just limit the audience to, specific people. I think we have a group teaching webinar coming up soon, I think.
Yes, we are in the works of preparing that. Stay tuned and keep checking the page on our website for that.
Yeah, I've been seeing some really great resources coming across from various suppliers.
Yes.
Innovative Piano is offering free subscriptions. Lots and lots of good resources.
We've also had several questions about communicating with parents about how to set up and how your lessons will proceed. And I just want to direct people's attention to the white paper that the Francis Clark Center put out yesterday. It is on that COVID-19 page. We've also put it on Facebook. So please look to that for more specifics about how to communicate with your parents and families during this time.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't realize that had been released yet.
Yes. Another question that we see popping up a lot is specific to Zoom. Do all of your students need to have their own Zoom account, or can you just send a link?
So I think that's a difference in having a professional Zoom account versus a free Zoom account. You can always send just a link, but you once your student clicks the link, they'll be asked to download the software and set up an account. So the account can be free, but I think they will have to set up an account at least on the first launch. Skype is also doing a send a link type option now. So that actually is probably a little more user-friendly for students who, say, have Windows computers and already have Skype logged in.
All right, we have a couple questions about YouTube and how to set up a playlist and use it with your students.
Oh, I think I skip that over with my slides. I didn't. I mean, I did show this slide that included a YouTube link, but I had actually put into my notes, if there's just like one skill that you learn through this, crazy time, it's how to make a YouTube playlist. So I wasn't going to spend time doing that in the session because, there are instructions from YouTube on how to do that easily, and I included a link in the resources. But if you go into your YouTube account and you select a video, you're watching a video, you'll have an option to save it or favorite it in a few different ways. Once you say, put on watch later, put on my favorites, you can add an additional option, which is, create a new playlist. And, I've done that for all kinds of completely unrelated things lately, but that's just such a great way to keep your students focused on just the content you want them to watch versus having YouTube autoplay algorithmically selected clips that you may not even want them to see.
I just want to bring everyone's attention to the fact that some of our upcoming webinars will be dealing with teaching different levels of students. So obviously you might teach a young student over video differently than you teach an advanced student. And so we will be addressing that in our upcoming webinars. We have several people asking about a replay of this webinar. We will be archiving this on claviercompanion.com. So look for notice when that is ready. We hope to have it up by tomorrow or by the end of today. We'll see how fast we can do it. And then, Shana, people have also asked about you sharing your slides from today. Will that be available?
Oh, yeah, we can make those available for sure.
Okay, I think that would be great. I also, as we're talking about all these different webinars, some of them are ready to go and you can register for them already, and some of them are still in the process of being created. So we will be blasting that out via email and also on social media as new ones are added. So keep checking back for that. And send us a note if we haven't addressed one of your specific needs or questions at this time.
All right, I can't believe we just did everything exactly in the right amount of time. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone out there. I have intentionally not looked at how many people are watching because I think it's a lot of people, and I'm so happy to have had this opportunity to share some of my ideas with you, but mostly I'm just so honored to be part of this community of professional teachers. I can't imagine going through this really stressful time without this community, and we're all working together to forge a path forward that keeps you working, that keeps us working, keeps music in our students' lives. There just has never been a more important time for the grounding power of music making. So thank you so much for joining, and we'll continue.